Who is Commissioner Lee Constantine? Welcome to another episode of You Can't Make This Shit Up. Your host, David Washington, Joel Hawksley, and we have a special guest with us today from Seminole County. We appreciate his time, Commissioner Lee Constantine. Can you introduce yourself, Commissioner?
Hi, I'm Lee Constantine.
See, he's short and to the point. See, that's it.
Straight to the point.
So I really wanted to just kind of, talk to you about, the commission and some of the things that are going on. But to start off, talk about your campaign. Talk about how we can get involved with your campaign if that's something you need.
Well, Joel, first of all, I'd like to just kind of introduce myself. I was teasing a little bit when I just said that.
That's fine.
I am a Seminole County young man. I grew up on Bear Lake Road, right there in Forest City. I have lived in both unincorporated Seminole County, in the Rolling Hills area, and of course Altamonte Springs. I went to Lyman High School. I went to UCF. I have gone away from time to time for various businesses, but the point is that this is my home, and I love being part of Central Florida. I was very fortunate that at a very early age, I was elected by the citizens of Altamonte Springs to be their city commissioner. Later on, I served as mayor, but stayed on as mayor for 14 years before I went to the legislature. Served 8 years in the House, 10 years in the Senate, and quite frankly, thought that my career was over. But when I say over, I mean as far as elected position. But one thing that I always did love, even when I was in the legislature, is I loved local government. It's something that you truly can be part of, not only the community, but helping the people you love the most. And it is where the rubber meets the road. So many people, when they first get elected or they first want to be in public service, they think that the legislature is the place to serve. The legislature is wonderful, and you can make a lot of difference, but there is no bigger difference that you can make for the community that you live in and you love than local government, whether it's a city commissioner, county commissioner, a board to serve on. And one thing I've always wanted to do in all the years that I've been in political office is I always wanted to maintain that I would be part of the community in the private sector. So I've always, had my own business, and at the same time in serving the people of Central Florida. So I'm very proud of that. I've served both Orange and Seminole County in the Senate as well as the House, but I am truly very happy now that I am serving as a county commissioner in Seminole County. And I am running for another term. The election obviously is coming up in November. There's a primary in August. And I certainly, as I always have, want to build a ground roots, truly inclusive campaign. I've always been one that I'm not somebody that finds any party or person an enemy. I am elected by all the people to serve all the people in Seminole County. And so I look for any and all help, and hopefully the citizens will see it in their best interest to elect me once again.
Thank you, Commissioner. Again, we appreciate you being on our show. And my question is, you have a long political history here in Florida, and you've accomplished a lot. Has there ever been an initiative when you were in the state legislature that you've hoped to either bring up in the local Seminole County government, or an initiative that you like to continue that you've started when you were in the state legislature?
Well, one of the things that, again, I tried to avoid when I was in the legislature as much partisanship as I could. But in the legislature, that is in many cases what it is. There is a lot of partisan votes. At the local level, I have never, in all the years, whether at the City of Altamonte Springs or now in the county, ever felt that I was truly voting on an issue that had anything to do with partisanship. It had everything to do with quality of life for the citizens that you serve. And I have had and been very proud of having a number of accomplishments in the legislature. I concentrated on what I call the 3 E's: education, environment, and economic development. And at the same time, there was a fourth E out there that I felt was very important, and that was ethics. And so during my whole career, I based my issues on those, tried to avoid the partisanships. So when I look back on the state legislature, I mean, I am very proud of many of the things that I did for UCF, my alma mater, whether it be getting the funding for buildings, supporting and sponsoring the medical school, which I think has been a transitional type of issue for Central Florida. When you look at the environment, whether it be and transportation and economic development, the Wekiva Parkway and Protection Act, preserving and protecting the river while building the road, which completed the Beltway around Central Florida, and also one thing that I remember, current Congressman at the time, Speaker of the House, Dan Webster, said at the end of his term as Speaker, he said, the press came into his office and they say, give us one thing, just one thing that you were most proud of. And I was there, and as one of his lieutenants, I was there in his office, and he pointed to me and he said, what Lee Constantine did that none of you have ever really reported on. And that was, I was able to build a unified building code, collapsing 480 codes in the state of Florida into one. Now, they weren't all the same because of the wind speeds and the various locations and geographic considerations. But what we did was, instead of having 480 codes that a builder, when they come into a community, would have to look up that code as opposed to the other 479, there was one code with appendix from that local area. But we also strengthened those codes. To today, the insurance industry says we have the strongest building codes in the state. And I'll never forget when I was running for the president of the Florida Association of Counties, which I have just finished my term, a county manager from Jefferson County, a small county up north, right after Michael, walked up to me and he said, you're running for president of the association? I said, yes, I am. He said, you're the one that wrote the Unified Building Codes of Florida. And I said, yes, I did. And he started crying. And he said, wow, you saved hundreds of lives in my county. That and he said, if you look at it, anything built after 2004 is standing. Anything built before 2004 is, we don't, could or could not be standing. But everything after that building code is standing. And that's what Dan said. He said, and this was back in 2000, he said, none of you really paid attention to it because, yeah, building codes, it doesn't sound exciting. But that one bill will save Florida billions of dollars and thousands of lives. And it has come to pass that is true. And it continues to be true. So, again, I'm very proud of things like Florida Forever. I'm very proud of the Wekiva Parkway and Protection Act, of our comprehensive election law reform, but I think that most proud of the unified building codes. Now, getting back to your exact question,
That does kind of answer it, though.
Yeah,
I have taken Florida Forever, which is a extremely important land preservation and conservation bill that I was very honored to be the sponsor of back in 2000. I've taken that and modified it to the local level, and we've called it Seminole Forever. We're the first county in the state to actually embed in our general revenue money for conservation. We didn't take it to the citizens and say, if you want us to preserve land, we have to increase your taxes and vote on it. We said, instead, we know that you want us to preserve Florida. We know that it's important to the quality of life that you have a conservation preservation program. We know that the environmental, for flooding and for water quality, we need open spaces. So we are going to embed in our budget, in our general revenue, amount of money that cannot be changed. We made it a super majority to change a word in that bill, and we're going to have Seminole Forever. Now, that it'll today generate about $5 million a year. We can do a lot of different things, bond it in lieu of taxes. There's a lot of different ways that we might be able to get money. We even set up an ARC committee, an acquisition and restoration committee of people that understand conservation, understand lands that will be helping. But the most important thing about this is, number one, is that we have established something that all other counties can use as a guide, because a lot of them, no one else has ever done this, actually done it, put it into the general revenue. They've all done referendums on it. And number two, because we did it, we made ourselves, because we had a environmental conservation plan, we got access to the state's money and to Florida Forever. And in record time, we were able to turn that over and purchase the Yarborough Ranch. 1,300 acres of pristine Florida ranch land that will be in preservation in the Seminole County forever, and align corridors, wildlife corridors, all the way up to the Ocala National Forest and all the way down to Wekiva. And we did that, like I said, in record time, and the state paid for it all.
Wow.
Well,
Very proactive.
Of course,
very proactive.
Of course, I have to be the partisan. But listen, I've been a Republican since Ronald Reagan. I am always been proud to be a Republican. But I've noticed that my party has been doing a lot of resolutions in Seminole County, and one of the ones that kind of bothers me is the penny sales tax. My fellow Republicans have come out against it, and many of the Republicans I stand with don't understand this. Could you kind of cover this because it's going to be on our ballot? Could you cover this with me,
Well, we
Commissioner?
haven't voted for sure to be on the ballot, but I'm going to vote to put her on the ballot. And let me just tell you, and I can't speak for my other commissioners, but I hope that they will too, and I think they will. But let me just take it back a step. We were the first county to really look at this, use this as a vehicle to help improve our county. And if you look at Seminole County versus our Central Florida neighbors, and I love them all. And as I said, I represented Orange County. I served on their delegation as well as Seminole County when I was in the Senate and the House. I love Central Florida, but there is a step up in Seminole County. And I will just tell you that the reason I believe that the game changer was 3 generations ago, when I say 3 generations of this sales tax, where we put it into play. This will be the 4th generation of a 10-year, sales tax. And what we did back then was something that no other county has been able to do consistently. And that is, we went to our citizens and we said, we're going to institute this 1 penny sales tax. And for that, you're going to get the benefit, and this county is going to improve. And guess what happened? Back then, a real red county passed it. And every time since, it has passed it again. Now, the difference as to why we're successful as compared to others is, number one, I think we have a very smart constituency, and they see the benefit of the things that we'll be able to do with that. But number two, they also understand is that they want a quality of services. They want the best services they can get. If we don't, this is about today $60 million to the county, more to, and just as much to the cities and the school board. If you don't do that, where are you going to find the money? Well, if you can maintain the quality of services, that comes from ad valorem. Well, wouldn't you rather people who are coming into our county, using our services, buying, at our stores and using our transportation services, pay about 30% instead of just the homeowners paying everything? So I think our citizens understand that, and I want to correct you, Joel. You said your fellow Republicans were against that. No, the Republican Executive Committee, which is a much different thing than all Republicans.
No, I told you my fellow Republicans agree with me.
Yes.
I'm with you.
I think this is very clear that if this wouldn't have passed 3 other generations ago, if it wasn't for Republicans as well as Democrats, as well as independents. And excuse me, somebody is very persistent on calling me, and I'm hanging up because all of us have scam, right? But let me tell you.
I just want to say I appreciate you correcting me, because I want to be as clear as possible.
Because it will only pass because real Republicans will vote for it, and they understand that 30%. It's better that other people who are using our services pay their fair share, and it's across the board. Everybody, in fact, doesn't everybody talk about the fair tax? And they always love to say sales tax is the most fair tax, because when you buy something, not food, not medicine, those are important, but buy everything else, you have a choice as to whether you're going to buy them. And if you buy them in Seminole County, you're using our services. So we do that. But here's the other reason why it's been successful. Instead of like other counties, and I'm not going to name them, saying we're going to spend all this on transportation and we're going to keep it all ourselves, and we're going to set up a blue ribbon committee that's going to do what, tell you what the programs are going to be later. Before we even put this on the ballot, number one, we share it with our cities. Number two, we share it with our A-class school district. And then every one of us, the 7 cities, the school district, and us, have to put down what programs, what infrastructure we're going to fix, improve, build before we put it on there. So the citizens can say, ooh, yes, I like that idea of that park or that road happening. Ooh, I like sidewalks in my neighborhood, which they're going to put in. So they have a blueprint as to what programs and what infrastructure is going to be built. Now, unfortunately, before they even knew that we were going to do this, when I mean by that, there was we were talking about it, but we hadn't approved it, and we still haven't approved it, although we will hopefully soon. And before we even put down the projects, and before they even understood that 30% was going to come from outside the county, they saw the T word, and the executive committee decided to vote against it. That's sad, and that's very short-sighted on their part. Now, let me tell you what the sales tax after 3 generations has done for Seminole County, because I do believe it's a game changer. Do you know that in the last couple of years, Niche, a group that ranks different, everything. They rank everything. They come out on, they ranked Seminole County as the #1 county to live in all of Florida. All of Florida.
Wow.
Slacker has named another ranking group, has named Seminole County the best place in Florida to raise a family. OBJ, Orlando Business Journal, has ranked our county as the second best county to work at home. And I think that's pretty important in the face of COVID and how things are changing. Our fire department is ranked #1, class 1. It's class 1 through 10. We're ranked class 1. Only 3 other fire departments in all of Florida and less than 1% in the United States is ranked class 1. Now, else does that do to us? That also gives us lower homeowners insurance and commercial insurance by having that. What else does it do? Well, we have been the first, and when I was a city commissioner, I pushed for the consolidation of our fire department, Altamonte Springs, with Seminole County, and Winter Springs and Castleberry have followed suit. So those 3 cities and the county all have a class 1 fire department. What else? We have a A-rated school district. I used to be chairman of education in the Senate. Only 4 counties in the state have a class A school district. That's our biggest economic indicator. That's why people want to come to Seminole County. The other 3 are St. John's, Sarasota, and Clay. Surprisingly, Clay. They just became one, but that's great. That we have that. We have 72% of our citizens have some college. 72%. And let me tell you something. We have the lowest accumulative ad valorem tax in the region. We have the highest average annual wage, our citizens do. We have the lowest unemployment rate. We have the largest budget, percent of our budget in reserves than any other county. And remember, that was with the lowest ad valorem tax in the region.
Yep.
And we have the lowest employee to citizen ratio in the region, while I would argue the best services in the region when you come to. So what common denominator there has made that all happen? I would argue that it's this 1 penny sales tax.
Well, I thank you for covering that, because that's important to me, and I think that that's important to the Republicans in our county, and I think the Democrats will come along too. So if it does get on the ballot, yeah, I will be advocating for it. So I appreciate that, honestly, David.
Commissioner, though it appears that the policy is very proactive from what you described, from conservation to the use of tax dollars, et cetera, et cetera. One of the issues that will be facing not just Seminole County, but I believe also Volusia County, Orange County, and Osceola County is the funding for Sunrail. I believe, if I understand correctly, and please correct me if I'm wrong, that the cost for Sunrail, the burden for that will fall on the counties that Sunrail serves more so than in the past. What's the plan? What's out there that would make the brunt of this a little bit easier to take?
Well, Sunrail, it should not, and I never have judged it according to, the amount of money on the ticket sales compared to the transportation.
Exactly.
When I was in the legislature, first it was Dan Webster as a senator, and he failed 4 times to get Sunrail passed. When he left, it fell upon me, and I failed 3 times to get Sunrail. And it was mostly because all the rest of the state of Florida did not want to pay for what they termed as a Central Florida transportation system. And what I argued and finally won, it was, my legislation, and we finally won, is that this begins the process of reintroducing rail to Florida. The sad part about the legislature today, because of term limits, is that there is no institutional knowledge.
Correct.
And the sad part about all of government today is that so many people, elected officials, have no knowledge of history. And they think that at the moment that they got elected to the legislature is when all history began. And I see constantly in the legislature today bills that we rejected because they didn't work back when I was in it, from 92 to 2010. And that's recent history. But let's go back a little bit. Florida would not be Florida, and everybody says because of air conditioning. Yes, that is part of it. But
Sure.
Florida would not be Florida unless there's two Henrys, Henry Flagler and Henry Plant. Henry Flagler built a railroad down the east coast of Florida. Henry Plant built a railroad from the L&N, I think it's Louisville, Nashville is what those L&N meant, down
Okay.
to the west coast of Florida.
Mhm.
And that is one of the reasons why historically the east coast of Florida has a lot of people from New York and Massachusetts, and the west coast has a lot of people from Ohio and Michigan. But originally that's what happened. And then you see all those, resort towns that were built on both east and west from those two railroads.
Okay.
Florida has a tremendous history in rail systems, and it's recent history. It's in the 20s. We're not talking about the 1860s and the 1850s when rail was going predominant up in the north. This is in the 1920s. And the fact of the matter is that unless we can't continue to pave Florida over with more highway systems, we have to have a multimodal system. And Sunrail not only gets people from one place to another, and yes, it will never pay for itself. And what road does,
Exactly.
what it does is it builds commerce. And there's commerce, you can call commerce in a number of different ways. Number one, look around every single rail system and the development that happens. Those tax dollars are going back to the people, would not occur except for Sunrail. Number two, we are keeping, if you just look at any poll, millennials want to have transit systems. They may not use it all the time, but they want transit systems. To keep our brightest and best, we have to have a rail system, multimodal system in Central Florida. And
Agreed.
number three, looks what's really happening. Brightline would not exist but for Sunrail. Brightline will not go to Tampa but for Sunrail.
Right.
Sunrail will go to the airport. And eventually, all that will be interconnected. And yes, do we need it on the weekends? Absolutely. Do we need it on the more time at evenings? Absolutely. But a 10-year rail system is not a complete mature rail system. We are just scratching the surface on what Sunrail will be able to provide for us. Now, let's talk about this. When I wrote that bill, we gave the state would have to participate and pay for it for 7 years. We had to buy it from CSX. Now, we are looking at the fact that we are going to have to take over the 4 counties, and the city, Orlando, are going to be paying predominantly for that. Is it going to be, something that is going to be difficult to pay at first? Yes. Are we going to have to go into our general revenues or transportation or other things? Yes. Is there going to be some shifting of money? Yes. But the bottom line is, what's the alternative? These people that say that Sunrail's a boondoggle all they want to do is they want to sit there and say, well, it's not paying for itself.
Well, they want to sit in traffic.
Yeah, well, duh. Nothing. but again, look at now I-4. I know I-4 is still I-4, and I do not want to go out to the Celebration or the Champions Gate area. But look how much better it is in Central Florida. And guess what? It's a lot easier to add another train car than it is to add another lane of traffic.
Agreed.
And the biggest thing is going to happen in the long-term future, not now. And we're gonna have Brightline going straight down I-4. We have now improving and I'm talking regionally now, down in Champions Gate and Celebration. I know the state's going to be spending a lot of money on that.
Right.
We're now going to open up the land. Eventually, I do believe it'll go all the way to Daytona. I do believe it'll for sure go to the airport, because that's what we always envisioned it. But it's a process. It's not everything is built tomorrow and then we all do it. It's going to take time. But the one thing that's benefit, if you look at it, the amount of money that it has generated through development in interior, or transit oriented development, is more than compensate for the amount of money that we have to put into it.
Awesome.
It's very true.
Well, I want to be very cautious of your time. I mean, I appreciate you being here. So I'm just going to say, look, you get the floor from me. Tell the citizens of Seminole, Central Florida, just tell them about, tell them the last word. The last word's yours, and we want them to like, we want them to share, we want to get your message out there because we appreciate it.
Well, watching your podcast in the past, I think I've gotten a lot of words in today, and I appreciate it. Usually you guys it's 50-50. You guys have given me a forum, and I hope that I've educated a little bit to everybody.
Oh,
And,
definitely.
and I don't think I have to say much more. I mean, I think you see my passion in serving the citizens of Seminole County. I think, and Central Florida, by the way, I think you see the fact that what the policies that we've instituted have improved Seminole County to the point that I am extremely proud. You could argue today that we are the best county, as it says by this ranking service, that we are the best county in all of Florida. You can argue that, and I will tell you that not just me, but all of my fellow commissioners, we may disagree on some things, but I've seen other counties, and we're working in lockstep compared to many, many other counties in Florida. We have a plan. We are very tight fist when it comes to money, but we're not stupid. We know you have to spend money to do things right, but at the same time, we are very fiscally conservative. And I want to continue that process. I see things that we can still do. Just Tuesday, we put in the Transportation Improvement District. What a concept. We'll be the first county in the state. Ybor City has done it, but the only place in Florida county that will have a tourist improvement district that we literally went to our hoteliers, had them agree to give a fee to the county per room so that we can build an indoor facility for sports and theater and graduation and all the things that will bring even more tourism and will make us even more productive, more cost effective, and certainly there's not $1 that will be spent by the taxpayers of Seminole County for a 170,000 square foot facility that will just promote even more economic development, like we have at Boomba Sports Complex and other places. We've got a lot of really exciting resources, whether it be the airport, whether it be Boomba, whether it be the different types of 7 dynamic cities that we have all doing exciting things. I want to be a part of it. I want to serve my citizens to the best of my ability. I understand budgets. I understand how to make this county continue to be the best county in all of Florida.
Well, David has one gotcha question. He always does. And they're usually easy.
I go for it, David. I'm ready.
There you go.
Okay, so we talked about conservation and preservation of our naturescapes and also transportation. So I had two, but I'm gonna pick one in regards to transportation. Have you ridden the Bright Line yet?
Yes,
How was it?
I loved it.
That's awesome.
Actually, here's something. I'll just give you a side thing, and I'll even name his name. A county commissioner from Hillsborough County by the name of Victor Christ, former county commissioner, but he was also a former senator with me. Victor Christ fought me like a number of people in the legislature. Sunrail only passed 22 to 18. And he was one of the ones that voted against it. He didn't want to give that much money to Central Florida. Our delegation is not Miami-Dade or Hillsborough. So, we usually have to partner up. Like to get the medical school, I had to also work with Miami-Dade County to get Florida International a medical school, not the same as ours, but it doesn't. So I got Miami-Dade group with me. But Victor Christ, Senator Victor Christ, was against the Sunrail. And okay, fine. But he understood, that what I was arguing was that we were talking about building a multimodal railroad transportation system in Florida. So on Saturday, I got a text from him. I hadn't gotten one, you know, I mean, I stay in touch with a number of people that I've served, but I hadn't gotten one from him for a long, long time. He said, Lee, my wife and my daughter Sophia and her 3 friends, we're all riding the Bright Line today down to Miami. We caught it at Orlando. We drove over from Hillsborough, and that's what she wanted to do on her birthday. Is her and her 3 little friends go down to Miami on the Sunrail. I mean on Bright Line. And he said to me, Lee, I was wrong. This is great, and I thank you for doing that. So I will just tell you, I have been on Brightline. I see it as a game changer because it was something that we always felt would be part of the bigger picture when it came to transportation in Florida. And again, I use this thing, but for Sunrail, the rest of this would not start to happen.
Well, thank
Well,
you, Commissioner. Thank you for sharing that. That is awesome.
I need you, if you're in Seminole County, to join me because I'm going to say it right now. I am. We vote for our commissioners countywide, so join me in supporting Commissioner Lee Constantine this August or November. I mean, if he has an opponent in the that qualifies, we'll I'm on your side. So I'm with you, Commissioner. We need you to like, we need you to share, we need you to get the message out because the things that this commissioner has spoken to us about today are things that you need to know because the bottom of the ballot's the most important part of your ballot, and that's what we try to teach here at J&Washington because we want to be we're your innovators. We appreciate the commissioner coming out and like, share, and be part of our community. Thank you.
And
Thank you.
guys, anytime you'd like me have me back, I'm happy to do it. You know,
Thank you, sir.
because the more the people hear, what we're doing and understand, I think the better opportunities we have to do even greater things and better things for all of them.
Awesome.
Thank you.